This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 30 of Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by Biostar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we talked to Paula Highley about equine importation and quarantine, the best oils to feed horses, the critical role of circulation, and tips for finding good dog breeders and reputable rescues.
Hi, Tig. What's up?
Tigger, you don't drink, but why? You sound like you've been drinking. Have you fallen off the wagon or something?
Water.
Yeah, it's her water wagon.
It's her water wagon?
Yes. I get stupid when I get to Wellington.
Now, when you go to Wellington, Tigger, do you go to Wellington annually? Is it a regular thing?
Yes, every year.
Every year. And do you stay at the same place every year?
This is the second year in this house, but it seems like I move every 2 years to rent a different house.
So you just rent a house. Do you rent a house all to yourself so you can get some quiet time, or do you rent a house with everybody else?
I rent it with Hedwig.
Yeah.
Oh, you poor thing.
She comes with a lot of cheese.
A lot of cheese.
Yeah, a lot of cheese.
And when you come to Wellington each year, how many of your canine companions come along with you?
Two.
Two
I have
companions.
Kemosabe and Crockett, who were with me last year.
So they come annually.
So they know the ropes.
They're
They're very experienced at it. But it's going from my bucolic farm life in Virginia to
the insanity.
And pressure and there's more congestion here. There's more people, there's more traffic, there's more vibrations.
Yeah. If you can imagine New York City, Times Square was a horse show venue, that's Wellington.
Yeah.
I was there for a half a day and I was on edge, jitters. It's like, give me some tranquilizers, please. I was there for a half a day.
Oh, that's so funny.
Crazy there. I mean, I get why everybody goes because of the showing and everything, but man, what a pressure cooker.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're in the service business that I'm in, just like, farriers and vets, and it's a very, the service providers are working just as hard as the grooms and the barn staff and the riders and the trainers. Everybody is working at
full
capacity.
Tilt. Everything has to happen yesterday.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's quite an adjustment for me, and it is every year. Even though I know it's not a surprise, it's not unexpected, but I get down here, and I arrived Thursday, and Friday morning I was off running.
Yeah. Now, how long do you usually stay down?
Till the middle or end of March. So
you're there for quite some time.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully we'll catch up with you. You usually go down to Wellington for a day or so and go watch some stuff. So hopefully we'll catch up with you when we go down.
I was at the Gold Coast, the global opening CDI this weekend, and the dressage musical freestyle is Friday night, and there were 12 horses, and I was in the VIP tent, which I hadn't experienced that before, and that was really kind of incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
But you really see the sport at the most elite level. And I was sitting with a judge who was judging the national shows. And, she said, it's so great to see this level of Grand Prix and this level of Intermediaire and Prix St. George. But she said, but then the reality is that when I go around the country judging, that's not what I'm going to see.
Yeah.
And it made me very, very aware of the very delicate, tricky role of a judge who sees the really, really good riders and horses, which is a very small number, and then is moving around the country judging at dressage shows all over the place. And those horses and those riders haven't gotten to that elite level.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to adjust your expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
you can't expect, that a Grand Prix horse in any part of the country is going to be, Lisa Wilcox and Gallant.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes
Uh,
them elite. If everybody could get it, it wouldn't be elite
Right.
anymore, right?
But I
Yeah.
think it's so important for people who do hunters, for people who do jumpers, for people who do dressage, to come down to Wellington for short periods of time, of course, but really see that level, to have something to aspire to, because I think in our own backyards, we're in a comfort zone. And if we do well, we think, we're pretty good. And
I
then
got
you go to a
this. Yeah.
show like Global and you go,
Oh,
Wow.
I mean, this judge was telling me that her third level class that she had judged that day, or the lowest score she gave was a 69, and the highest score she gave was a 75. She
Yeah.
said those horses were so uphill and so engaged, they were ready for FEI
Yeah.
and through, and flowing, and they're probably schooling Pre-St. George I won at home, and they bring them out at third level, so it's easy for the horse. But I think the Florida experience is important for riders.
I think you're right. It's look at it as something that is inspiring, because you have to have a balance of things that you do in your horse life that inspire you, and things that you do in your horse life that are workaday and are literally getting things done. So you go there and you get inspired in the dead of winter when you really can't ride your horse in Upper Michigan.
Right.
So go down, treat yourself to a weekend or a 3-day weekend or something, and pick out some classes that you want to watch. It's all right there online. You can see who's doing what, where, and when. Treat yourself to that. Maybe even whip out your phone and get some video of it if you're there during the day. Use that to inspire you, so that when the weather breaks and you can get to that workaday part of your horse life, you've really got something to sustain you through the days that you just don't have the mental energy to get on your horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about Global and Wellington at large is it's very easy to watch the schooling areas and the warm-up areas, and you can see how these really good riders and these really good trainers, how they work through the problems that everybody who rides has. The horses balks or spooks.
I love the warm-up arena. It's my favorite place to hang out.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And seeing how some riders are really, really soft. They get on, they go out to the warm up. There's not a tense elbow, shoulder, nothing. And then others, you can tell, they're feeling the pressure. This is not a judgment. And they get tight, and the horse gets a little tight, and they have to work at letting go of that tension so that the horse relax.
Yeah.
And people who have quarter horses and compete in reining and barrels and eventing, there's a big eventing mini sort of event in Wellington.
Yep.
The quarter horses, there's the Congress, there's the big Appy show, the big paint shows. Those are the things that you want to get out of your barn or ranch and go to and watch and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go. Inspiration, people. Treat yourself to a 3-day weekend. There you go. And speaking of 3-day weekends.
Yes.
We've got a guest lined up here to chat with, all about 3-day weekends for imported horses.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Quarantine and importation.
Here we go.
And we're here with Paula Highley in Wellington, Florida. Paula manages a very successful quarantine station in Wellington. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Tigger. It's nice to be with you.
Welcome, Paula.
Thank you.
I just wanted to get my 2 cents in.
Yes, we appreciate that, Patty.
Okay, please continue.
Paula, you probably don't know this, but Patty actually had a quarantine station. So in Virginia. But for our listeners who may not be familiar with the import, export, and quarantine procedures, can you tell us a little bit about what it is to import a horse into this country and what kind of procedures they have to go through when they land?
Sure. Horses that come into the United States from Europe, there are mares, geldings, and stallions that come in. Geldings are required to spend 48 hours at the USDA facility that they fly into, so whether it be Miami or New York, and then from there they are released into the general population. Mares and stallions, however, have to go through a CEM process that is supervised by the state in which they have been flown into. So whether they fly into New York and then go to a CEM facility that is approved in that state, or whether they fly into Florida and come into a CEM approved facility in our state.
And what does CEM stand for? What are they testing?
CEM is contagious equine metritis. And what that is a sexually transmitted disease among horses caused by a bacteria. So the United States is considered CEM free, as is Canada. So horses that fly into the United States or Canada need to go through the CEM process if they are a mare or a stallion.
Is CEM more widely found in Europe and South America?
It is more widely found in Europe. Europe is not CEM free. And so because of that process, horses that enter here have to go through the required testing to ensure that they're not bringing the disease, which is a sexually transmitted venereal disease, into the United States.
And what is the testing that they actually do on the mares and the stallions once they're in quarantine?
So the process is different for both a mare and a stallion. The mares need to go through a process that starts with blood work, and then from there, their genitalia is tested, very similar for, I guess, layman people, for a pap smear for women. Mm-hmm. The horses, the mares, have a test done that is done over a period of days to test for whether or not they are CEM positive. And for stallions, stallions come into the United States, spend the 48 hours in Miami, come to our facility where their penis is cultured, and then after 8 days, we've ensured that the culture from that swab is clean through the lab. They then live cover 2 test mares, and then the test mares that the stallion has bred go through the same process as the mares that are in quarantine.
And what happens to the foal if they're impregnated?
The mares, on the day 21 days after they have been bred, a CF test is done, which is a blood test. And on the day that the CF test is done, they are given a shot, which is like a day after shot. Mm-hmm. So if they are in foal, the foal would be absorbed. And then they are good to, after 48 hours of that blood test, to go to another stallion again if we have another stallion that is in the quarantine facility.
What happens if a horse tests positive for CEM?
If a horse tests positive for CEM, there are procedures that can be done that are treatment protocols. So the owners have 2 options. The horse can either be sent back to Europe, which is obviously an option, and the other one is that the horse can be treated. Both mares and stallions can be successfully treated with topical and systemic antibiotics. The problem is with that for some owners is once they have started that protocol, they then have to wait 21 days from the final treatment, and then they would begin the CEM process again.
And it's expensive. I mean, that's a big
It
thing
is.
because because I mean, it's so expensive.
The treatment is expensive?
No, to have to go through the process
CEM again.
To go through the CEM process is expensive. I mean, the process for a mare and stallion, a mare generally costs, at the facility that I manage, we charge $2,700 for a mare, which includes the 14 to 16 days board that they're there, all the CEM testing. So they get hay, shavings, grain, their stall picked out 4 times a day, and the full use of the facility. So in Florida, for example, they can ride and exercise their horses just as they would at their own farm or at a horse show. With stallions, the cost at the facility, again, that I am at, is $12,750, and that includes, again, all the CEM testing, the use of the 2 test mares for the approximately 36 days that they're there, and again, the full use of the facility and the full care of their horse while they're there. The problem is that if the stay becomes longer, or they have to go through any kind of treatment program because their mare or stallion has tested positive, then that's when the costs start to build up, because the quarantine facilities are geared for quarantine. So the costs for them to stay there are generally a little higher, I would say, than if you were boarding somewhere for a day.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm in shell shock over the $12,000 for a stallion.
Well,
but you're paying really for 3 horses.
Yeah, you are. And that's the thing that people don't understand, because literally after the stallion breeds the mare, the stallion, you don't even touch it. He has really nothing to do after that. It's all about the mares.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. So from the day the stallion arrives on the property, 2 mares are assigned to him. So from day 1, you've got 3 horses for 36 days you're paying for.
Yeah. So you're renting mares, so to speak.
Is it live cover or?
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
Yes, it is live cover.
Yep.
Wow.
So, but the test mares that the facilities have, and our mares at our facility are, I mean, they are treated good as gold. They are turned out. They're in nice stalls, just like the quarantine horses. They get their feet done every 5 weeks. They get grain and hay and shavings in their stalls, and they spend their summers up in Virginia when the season is quiet, and they go out in a nice big grass field and live for 4 or 5 or 6 months up there, which is fabulous for them. But when they're down here and the breeding process occurs, the mares are brought into season. The vet that we use, Dr. Aaron Newkirk at Reed & Associates, is an absolute leader in the field of the CEM protocol for stallions and reproductive medicine. So we're using the best vet we feel in the state of Florida for this. And she is absolutely very cautious and very aware with regards to ensuring the process is safe for primarily the stallion, but also for our test mares. So that if they're not extremely receptive, if the stallion is overly aggressive, we have the opportunity to stop the process, look at other mares that we have available and begin again, so that it is safe for everyone, the handlers and the horses.
Yeah, it's an amazing, when we did this, we have a farm in Virginia, and it's been 10 years now. And we actually literally had one horse that came in with 5 other horses from Spain. And we had this one younger stallion that just didn't like one of the mares he was assigned to.
Yep.
and we had to wait for one of the other stallions who had one of the mares that he liked, because we couldn't get him to breed. And this was a young juvenile stallion that had never bred. And we literally had to wait for the other mare to get out of her protocol and out of quarantine and recycle the stallion. It's amazing the different stories that you can, that happen with all this. But, it becomes such a, I'm sure it's even different than it was then, but it becomes quite a template, and most of the horses fit into that template, don't you think? You sort of have the protocol, you do what you're going to do, and most of the time you don't have any issues with mares or the stallions, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny. The stallions that have experience, they're good at their job and they
Yeah.
know what they're there for. And they
Yeah.
come out and they breed and I mean, this probably sounds bizarre, but they appreciate the mare. They're
Oh,
not
yeah. Yeah.
aggressive. They're not bullies. They're not, the things that people tend to think of when you think of a stallion live breeding a mare.
Yeah.
And you do have stallions that don't like the
Behave.
color of the mare. And
Yeah.
I mean, we have very many pairs of mares, and one of them is gray and another one is a bay. And
Yeah.
they might like the gray and they might not like the bay. But again, and that's where Dr. Newkirk comes into the picture, because the mares, of course, as you know, are hobbled and tranquilized a little bit for the
Right.
process, but they're not tranquilized enough that they can't move. So
Right.
you get a stallion that's not interested, and you can get the mare, walking around the breeding facility or trotting a little bit around the facility. And that very much perks the stallion that's not interested or inexperienced
Right.
interest.
It's just so funny when you said, because this one stallion, and it was just the funniest thing. We would stand there, we would trot the mare around, we'd move her, we'd make her bat her eyes, we would do whatever we could, and he was just going, "Yep, not gonna happen, not gonna do it." He'd be looking at his watch, he's like, "Yeah, there's a girl out in the field, I gotta." And it was, in all the times that we did it, because we did it for 10 years. We only ever had that happen once. We had tons of other things happen, but it's just, it is amazing. Because in the end, it doesn't take that long. If it goes well, it really is no big deal, right? I mean, you get the
It's
mares to
5
come in.
minutes.
Yeah, it's no big deal. But it's
No.
it's that one that makes it, go on forever.
Yeah.
So funny.
And it's nice because at our facility, and I'm not sure, I don't think all the other quarantines do offer this, but at our facility, we allow the clients to watch the breeding process if they're interested, or to send a groom or their manager, so that they can ensure that the well-being of their stallion is taken care of during the process.
Right. That's really nice.
We have a lot. I would say probably 70 to 80% of our breedings are attended by someone that's involved with the stallion that's there.
Yeah, that's really nice, because
It is
that
nice.
that can be really hard, and obviously that says a lot about you and the management bit of that, because that's a difficult thing, to have people there when, if things don't go well, not when I say not go well in a dangerous way, but just sometimes horses don't cooperate.
Sometimes horses don't cooperate, and sometimes, I mean, we've had a stallion that's been on top of a mare, and he's done, and he just kind of falls over.
Yeah,
I mean, you kind of go, "What are you doing?" Like, oh my goodness.
He had to have a smoke.
Yeah, but I mean,
he needs a scotch and a cigarette or something.
Right.
It's quite funny, actually.
Have you ever had a young one, the first time it's ever bred, literally pass out?
No, we have not had that happen.
Oh yeah, I've had several young horses that came in that have never been bred. They were 3-year-olds, passed out, and we're standing there, and all of a sudden we're going, "Oh yeah, his eyes are shut. This is not good." And boom. And I mean, literally, it was it, and the state vet, of course, is there going as he's about to hit the ground. He passed out. I knew it was going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. It's truly, and that's the other thing too. What people don't realize when they do something like this, going to a place that's run something, like this, like Paula, who has experience doing this, is that if you do have a horse that is aggressive, or is not an aggressive breeder that that has bred before, that you really have to kind of coax them into it, having the person who's handling the horse and handling the situation is utmost, and becomes worth millions of dollars, because
Absolutely.
you can take an aggressive horse and have it handled improperly and never breed well again. Or you can take a horse that's never bred before, and pass out, and, whatever. I mean, there's so many scenarios that can make this go wrong, and they're not that they don't happen a lot, but when they do, it's great to have good staff like this, But
Well,
it's so fun.
and that's why Dr. Newkirk is fabulous. But she also, the lady that works with her vet tech, Annametta Miner, is a fabulous stallion handler. And, either James or myself are on the other side of the stallion, but
Right.
Annametta for sure is leading the way, and makes the calls, and she is absolutely fantastic at not getting stressed, not getting worked up. when a stallion, as you say, is good or bad or not, it's not cooperating or whatever. She's the calm person in the group, her and Aaron, and they're Dr.
that's
Newkirk,
great.
and they're just fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
And they
Paula,
make our job easy.
what is the most challenging part of your job managing a quarantine facility?
I would say the most challenging part of managing the quarantine facility is just the volume, the numbers of mares and stallions that come in and out, and ensuring that a culture is not missed, that their health is kept at an utmost. And, these horses from Europe come over, and the change of environment, the change of weather, a lot of them come hairy, and so they get off the truck and they're sweaty and they need to be clipped. And the environmental issues here in Florida, I find, are the most difficult to deal with regards to, all of those issues, the summer sores, the bell boot rubs, the bumps that they get from having allergic reactions to the different things in the environment. And the clients want to ride the horses, and they're getting them ready to compete at WEF or at global dressage. And, for us, I need to make sure that the cultures are done. But, every morning when I get to the barn and walk through the barn, I've got 40 or 50 horses that I need to look at and need to make sure that they don't have big legs, or that they don't have sores that an owner has missed and a fly gets on it, and overnight it becomes 3 inches around as opposed to the size of a fingernail.
Yeah.
So that's what I find, I would say, the most demanding of the position, are those two things. And coordinating all the stalls. Horses arriving and horses leaving, and who's going where, and, making sure that it all fits in the puzzle.
A lot of logistics.
How many horses come through that facility?
Last year, actually, we had the numbers for the Florida Department of Agriculture in 2016 were down slightly from the year before, and our numbers were up at our facility with regards to mares and stallions. We had just over 250 mares and stallions at Wellington Quarantine last year, with 90% of them coming from the period of January, February, and November and December.
Wow.
The few filter in the other 8 months of the year, but those 4 months, we're on overload for sure.
Wow. It's a lot.
Now, do you have to do any biosecurity hazards, like when you've got a horse that's leaving quarantine? Do you have to bleach the stall?
Absolutely. There are protocols that are in place from the Florida Department of Agriculture, which we follow very closely. So anytime a horse leaves the stall is stripped, the stall is bleached, the feed buckets and water pails are all bleached. The stall is then pressure washed, dried, and prepared for the next horse to come in. So, and it's the same with the horse trailers that come. The horse trailers that arrive to our facility from Miami, once a mare or stallion is off the transport truck, if there are other geldings or horses on there or not, the trailer itself is picked out from where the horse has been. The shavings are removed from that stall on the horse trailer, and that stall on the horse trailer is also disinfected under the supervision of the Florida Department of Agriculture.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, obviously they still just do the same thing, but we were working with Newburgh and coming to Virginia, but when they get the horses off onto the trailers, they seal the trailer. And
yes, they do.
Depending, and obviously they're coming from Miami, so it's not as much of a trip, but it was 9 hours. And sometimes these horses, because they're released at certain times, my husband would, be bringing back 4 horses, and he would have left at 3:00 in the afternoon, and he'd be getting into Virginia at 2:00 in the morning. And so the state vet had to be there, and that was not, the state vet has to be there to break that seal at 2 a.m, and that happens a lot. And it's just it's a lot of tedious work that sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense for horse people. But it's amazing, all the stuff you keep talking about protocol. But I don't know if they still do that purple solution that you have to step in and before you come in and out of the stall, or put the booties on, or all the different things that you have to do, which people just don't think about. They're just like,
Well,
okay.
we've got a mare actually that flew into Newburgh that's arriving at our facility here in Florida tomorrow because the Miami USDA is full.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've got a horse coming from Newburgh tomorrow that will be arriving that left there this morning around 11 o'clock apparently was the release. So it'll be at our facility tomorrow morning. But yes, we have foot baths at the entrance to all of the barns, the stallion barn, the mare barns, and as well all the different entrances, because the way the facility is set up, people can park at the back and walk into the barns that way. So there's another foot bath back there that's got a germicide in it and a water mixture that again has been approved by the Florida Department of Agriculture. So all of those protocols are still in place, and the amazing thing is that the clients, at least the clients that we've had at our facility, I find are very good at following the protocol, at using the hand sanitizer, at using the foot bath, and at following the rules, because they don't want to jeopardize their mare or stallion getting held up because they've done something silly, when the rules have been very clearly explained to them upon their arrival at the facility when they've had their tour and done the paperwork.
Yeah.
Well, Paula, thank you so much for coming on and explaining quarantine and importation, because it's not as simple as one would think, just saying, oh, I think I'm going to import a mare, or I'd like to import a stallion. It's quite a process.
It is, and it's a lot of fun because we get a lot of different, we get polo horses and dressage horses and jumpers, and we've got a couple of fabulous dressage horses at our facility right now that are just wonderful to watch the people ride. 90% of our business, or 80%, I would say for sure, is the hunter jumper industry. But, we've had Friesians come through. We've had carriage horses come through. We've had everything. And it's interesting to see all the different breeds and types and deal with the different clients. And they for sure are all very appreciative of what we do at the facility to make sure that their stay is as uneventful as possible.
Yeah.
Well, having been to that facility, Paul, I give it 5 stars.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
And that's due to you. So.
Well, thank you very much. It's a fun job, and the clients are great, and when you love the horses, but I'll tell you, without the staff that we have and the veterinarians that we have and the state veterinarian that we have that work with us, none of it would happen as smoothly as it does.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, Paula, thanks so much, and I will see you soon at the dog park.
Yes, you will. Thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure talking with you, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Hello.
A little sheepish.
Hi, Hetty.
Hetty.
Hello, Patty and Tiggle. And is it Jennifer today?
I'm here, Hedwig. It's nice to hear your voice.
Jennifer, Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much.
Just to her?
Yeah, only me. You guys don't get it. So there. Ha.
Yeah, we did great.
Huh.
I wish you Happy New Year already, Patty and Tiggle.
That block of cheese is on its way, by the way, Hedwig.
That's
Yeah, where's my freaking cheese?
There you go.
I'm the hit star, and I get no cheese?
That's right. You get poems written about you, and there's no cheese. I demand more cheese.
I should. I deserve a raisin cheese.
I think so.
I think you do too.
Happy.
So, Jennifer, you're going to ask that our question for Hedwig?
Oh, I thought you were asking the question today.
No, I think you should ask it.
I forget what it was.
You're all scared, aren't you?
Know.
You're terrified of being mocked again.
I remember. What is it that you're dreaming?
Oh, yeah.
That one. So you want to ask it?
Well, canines are famous for chasing bunnies in their sleep. They yip and bark and their little paws go, and it's so adorable. What are you guys dreaming about when your little paws are going when you're sleeping?
What do I dream about while I'm having pleasant dreams or nightmares?
Happy dreams.
Oh, happy ones. Okay, no problem. Cheese.
I told you. What did I tell you?
Wheel of cheddar is slowly rolling away from me, and I'm cantering toward it in a lolloping way, ready to sink my teeth into its fat, round, pleasant shape. Yes. And
I
then
told
there's
you.
another dream where I find a giant bar of chocolate, and I unwrap it with my clever paws, and I eat the whole thing, and I don't get sick.
That's
And then there's another dream where I am dropped into a nice pool of cheese. It's just 3 or 4 inches
It's a
deep,
chippy
like
fondue.
And I just go to town. I just eat all the cheese.
What are you going to do when the new puppy arrives?
I'm not going to eat it, if that's what you're trying to suggest.
No, I mean,
Tigger.
are you,
Yeah, Tigger, what were you suggesting?
I was suggesting not eating, but it's going to be very different when the servant has to take care of a puppy.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it will be different because we're going to do most of the work, as we so frequently do.
Oh, good point.
Of course.
Good point.
My sister and I are puppy experts. As you might recall, we had large numbers of puppies, and my sister said her puppies were all smart and beautiful and had wonderful homes. So this puppy is in good paws. I think it will turn out okay. But since you have raised the subject of the puppy, may I say something about my sister?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, as many of you know, because of my Facebook page, I had a sister who was not a Pomeranian. She was a Corgi, and she was an active member of the Corgan Liberation Front and lived undercover for many, many years in Manhattan and in Millbrook. But recently her cover was blown, and in an attempt to fly swat her, like a Russian espionage movie, she faked her own death and went Reichenbach on us, and we have to say she died.
Oh.
That's
Well,
very
like-
sad.
Yeah. That
But
is sad.
we don't know that she really died, because as a famous double agent, it is possible that she has gone on to retire from the world of secret agents and has returned to Wales to train a whole new generation of Oregon heroes.
I think that's probably what happened.
I hope so.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because we
Well.
weren't there, so we don't really know. We just know what the human told us, and she's often wrong.
As are humans. Yes, as are humans.
Oh boy.
She is.
Okay.
She doesn't understand anything.
No, they don't. Well, we understand just a little bit more now about what our canine companions and friends are dreaming about when their little paws
They're
go, and they're
dreaming
so
about
cute.
food.
And now I've learned just a little bit more about the secret agent corgi
Yes.
population.
Which
and
is-
I didn't know.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
So-
that's a
so
whole
the-
thing.
Next time we talk to you, Hetty, we'll find out how your puppy training is going.
Oh, we're going to whip that little fluffer into shape. Don't you worry.
No doubt.
I'd
No
actually
doubt.
like pictures of that for the healthy
Well,
critters.
it's smaller
thing.
than us still, so
Yeah.
don't worry. We're on it.
Good.
Quite literally, we're going to be on it like a white on rice.
There you go. Thanks, Hetty.
Thanks, Hetty.
Talk to you later, Hetty.
We are at the Tigopedia portion of our show, and Tiggs, I've got a good question for you that a lot of people I know have asked me, and I always say, ask Tigger. So that's what we're going to do. The question is, what are the best oils to feed horses? And I know that's kind of a wide open topic, but a lot of people
Yes.
like to do it. They like to add it for fat, etc. So, all right, go. Have fun with this one.
Well, it's more complicated than
It always
there
is.
isn't simple. What are you feeding an oil for?
Let's
Are you-
just say, okay, why would you recommend oil? How about that? Let's start there.
Okay, so you would I would recommend an oil when you need a quick delivery of energy,
Okay.
when you need to put weight on a horse fairly rapidly.
Okay.
Depending on the oil, some oils are highly therapeutic, like hemp seed oil.
Which I love.
So me too, which you would feed for the hindgut ulcer issue horses.
Mm-hmm.
Some horses need high vitamin E's, and then you'd want to go with a camelina oil.
Okay.
But when you're assessing, because there's lots of different oils, there's corn oil and vegetable oil and rice bran oil and
Flax
oil and
coconut oil
and coconut oil and corn oil and
yeah.
One of the most important things to look at is the quality of the oil itself. So when we take corn oil, soy oil, and vegetable oil is a combination of corn and soy. Those and rice bran oil typically are solvent process, which means they use a chemical called hexane, which is classified as a neurotoxin. They heat the oil, they extract it with a solvent from the corn or from the soy. So the solvent acts to separate the oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they heat the oil up to a very high temperature. And the best description I can give you is, imagine you take some oil and you pour it into a saucer and you heat it on the stove and then you drink it.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with highly processed oils.
Okay.
They become totally denatured. All they have is fat. And you're missing all the key helpful components of that oil. So, for instance, about 20 years ago, wheat germ oil was very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat germ has naturally occurring vitamin E, right?
That's a good thing.
Very antioxidant. Yep. But when you process it this way, the E is destroyed. So they had to add the E back. So it became fortified with vitamin E. So then it was just a fat with added synthetic E.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like the difference between, your $1.99 olive oil and your extra virgin.
Right. Okay.
Cold
it's all in the processing then.
All in the process. Okay. So more of the unique oils, like hemp seed oil, like camelina oil, even to some degree flax will fall into this category. They are cold pressed. So they are never heat extracted and no solvent is used.
Okay.
So they literally just press it, just like olive oil.
Okay.
Those oils are typically significantly more costly, but you use less and get more because you get all the nutrients that occur in those oils.
Okay.
Coconut oil is in a sort of a class by itself. Again, it can be solvent extracted, and certainly the cheaper coconuts are. When it says refined coconut oil on the label, that means it's been heat extracted.
Okay.
But when it says cold or virgin coconut oil, then that means that it has not been denatured.
Okay.
And you can use a refined coconut oil topically.
Right.
If you're just looking for sort of an emollient. But if you want the benefits of coconut oil, then you want to make sure that it's virgin or cold pressed.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's so many different types that are out there. And it is amazing the different reasons why people use them. I mean, I think obviously my big thing in the last, gosh, how many years has it been? As I love the hemp oil, and it's I mean, the difference I've seen by using the hemp oil was putting weight on, but also the difference in their coats, which was like always amazing. And of course, coconut oil. Those are really the two big ones that I've been using. And just recently, you've been telling about the camelina oil.
I love camelina oil.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I know it's not easy, and people just shouldn't go out and start dumping corn oil.
Don't pour in mazola or canola oil or, that coca soya.
Mm-hmm.
Soy oil is such a problem anyway, but
yeah,
it's a better investment in your horse's health to buy a good oil and only have to use an ounce once or twice a day.
Right. Well, cool. Good. Good.
Cool. There we go.
Cool.
Now you know.
And we've arrived at the Critter Nutrition Corner, and we're going to talk about circulation, because circulation is a key component of performance and of healing and metabolic imbalances. The body's circulation system is responsible for sending blood, oxygen, and nutrients throughout the body. When blood flow is reduced, the body's ability to heal and repair is diminished. Increased blood flow is a significant benefit that allows the vascular highways to deliver oxygen and nutrients more efficiently. Increased circulation can help reduce inflammation and reduce oxidative stress. Benefits of increased circulation is it improves the oxygenation of the tissues, removes toxins and metabolic waste, enhances the healing process, and reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. Nitric oxide is a key signaling molecule in the body. It is a powerful vasodilator. The endothelium, which is the inner lining of blood vessels, uses nitric oxide to signal the surrounding smooth muscles to relax, thus resulting in increased blood flow. The amino acid arginine is a substrate for nitric oxide production. Specific foods such as pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, oranges, and nutritional yeast provide high amounts of arginine for nitric oxide production. Recent research has highlighted the role of Indian gooseberry in circulation. One of the widely used plants in Ayurvedic medicine is amla, also known as Indian gooseberry. It has been used on animals and humans for thousands of years. 8 recently published studies on a specific patented extract from Indian gooseberry called capros have demonstrated this plant's remarkable ability to increase nitric oxide production by 54% and increase the super antioxidant glutathione by 50%. Glutathione is known as the mother of all antioxidants. It supports the regulation of cell growth and division, protects DNA from oxidative stress, helps with amino acid transport in and out of the cell, and supports the humoral immune function. Research has shown that capros reduced levels of inflammatory biomarkers and improved endothelial function. This is very important because a study published September 29, 2016, Vascular Dysfunction in Horses with Endocrinopathic Laminitis, showed that endothelial dysfunction associated with hormonal conditions such as metabolic syndrome or Cushing's disease affects the laminar vessels and facial skin arteries of the horse. By improving endothelial function by relaxation via nitric oxide, there is increased blood flow and circulation. When horses exercise, nitric oxide is released, which increases blood flow to the muscles and organs, to the heart, and to the lungs. Nitric oxide is a short-lived molecule, so the longer it circulates, the greater the benefit to the cells, heart, lungs, nervous system, and muscles. Supplementing horses with foods and plants that increase nitric oxide can improve daily training and performance by reducing muscle fatigue, removing lactic acid, increasing oxygenation of muscles, and delivering more nutrients to the cells. Because nitric oxide plays an important role in healing via increased circulation, repair of muscles and connective tissues can be enhanced. Since the Indian gooseberry extract caprose increases glutathione, this critical antioxidant is important in the production of ATP. Lower amounts of glutathione in the cells can slow down ATP production, resulting in fatigue. Furthermore, the recovery phase of training requires glutathione to mop up the free radicals, which cause oxidation. The free radicals can create inflammation unless regulated by potent antioxidants such as glutathione. Nitric oxide can modulate the release of various inflammatory mediators. In relaxing the blood vessels, more nutrients are delivered to the area of the body that needs them. This is especially important for ligament and tendon injuries, muscle and joint injuries, and support. As the heart beats, blood is sent throughout the body. The heart is the key organ of the circulatory system. The feet are also responsible for pumping blood up and back to the heart. Inflammation in the foot will reduce the amount of circulation returning to the rest of the body and the heart. Nitric oxide helps recirculate by relaxing the smooth muscles, allowing for more blood flow. This is especially important to maintain healthy feet and to help with foot issues such as navicular, bursa inflammation, bruising, and laminitis. After testing the Indian gooseberry extract caprose last year on a variety of horses, including performance horses, metabolic horses, horses on layup for ligament strains, older horses who get stiff and achy, and horses needing to grow more foot, it was time to make it available to horses. Coming February 1st, Biostar introduces Circuvate, the first equine supplement to use the Indian gooseberry extract caprose. This extract has been approved by the FDA in part because of Indian gooseberry's long history of use in animals and humans. Caprose has been intensively researched for efficacy, including 7 published studies and 4 additional studies pending publication. Caprose is derived from freshly harvested Indian gooseberry fruits, which are washed in purified water. Maximum yield of the bioactives are ensured by the selection of specific chemotypes of the plant and harvesting the fruit at the proper age. No solvents or pesticides are used in the growing or extraction process. Biostar's Circuvate combines the arginine-rich foods for nitric oxide production: pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, nutritional yeast, organic freeze-dried orange powder, with additional vasodilation from organic ginger and the powerful Indian gooseberry extract caprose. Biostar's Circuvate provides circulatory support on a level not seen in an equine supplement before. It is free of additives, petroleum extracts, flavorings, preservatives, and sweeteners. It passed our palatability tests with flying colors. And the improvement in many of the test horses was beyond expectations.
Real horses and real dogs are healthier, perform better, and recover more quickly on real food. That's why Biostar empowers horse and canine owners with 100% whole food nutrition, supplements, and feeding programs. Biostar products are made at their own certified non-GMO facility in Gordonsville, Virginia, using real food ingredients that are raw, freeze-dried, or dehydrated, never cooked, and are free from artificial flavors, colors, soy, corn, wheat, and molasses. The Biostar product line includes a wide range of whole food, horse and dog supplements, treats, and unique artisan poultices that embrace the ancient and traditional uses of clay and plants. Visit biostarus.com today and learn about whole foods and canine and equine nutrition so you can make the best decisions about the care and health of your horses and dogs. That's biostarus.com. Whole food nutrition the way nature intended.
So now we're at Coffee Klatch, and we are going to discuss different avenues that we've chosen or used or that we know of to either purchase a new puppy or dog or rescue a new puppy or dog. And so we're all going to kind of chime in.
And dogs.
We do love puppies and dogs. And you know what our best advice is. So Jennifer, why don't you?
You always make me go first.
It's because it's fun.
You just do that to make sure I'm still awake at this hour of the night.
Because
That's
there are times I'm going, Jen's out of here, isn't she?
Depends on how big the glass of wine was.
That's right.
Really does. Let's see here. I don't have any experience purchasing from a breeder.
Okay.
Although growing up, my mom did breed dogs, so people purchased them from us.
Right.
But myself, we have always gotten our dogs and puppies from various and sundry rescue organizations, from your local county shelter to very specialized rescue groups, for example, Greyhound Rescues.
Right.
So that's always how we've gotten them. And one of the things, it's kind of like when you go looking at a horse. When I go and I meet my potentially new puppy or dog, I want to see a fresh, clean living environment. Whether that environment is a commercial kennel like you would see at the county shelter,
Right.
or if it's at a private home because your potential new greyhound is being fostered. I don't
Right.
want to go in and see a pet that is being cared for and it's in a dirty environment, because for me that just shows me that that's a breeding ground for disease from my point of view.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's fact, but that's just one of my top ones. Just it's
Yeah.
a clean living environment. It's not
Yeah.
infested with
Manly.
anything. You know?
Yeah.
That's a biggie for me.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I think most people like to go. I do think it's sometimes unrealistic when people go and they're like, I just don't want it to smell like dogs are there. And I'm like, that's not realistic.
It's going to smell
No.
like dogs, but there's a difference
Yeah.
between smelling like dogs because there's 75 dogs at the shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is a difference, definitely.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's
Okay. Well,
that's a
that was
biggie.
good. That's good. Tiggy, how about you? Because you're on both sides of that
Both
fence.
sides of that, yes. I don't think I've ever adopted from a private rescue, but I certainly have from the local SPCA.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really depends on your locality,
Yeah.
because there are certain, shelters, county shelters, state shelters that are really well run, and then there are some that are just horrible.
Mm.
I think that probably the most important thing, if you're going to do a rescue in terms of priority, is a shelter that has a kill policy, because that means you want to get in there and
Yeah.
get that animal out.
Yeah.
But it's good that so many of these, I know in Charlottesville, our SPCA is a no-kill shelter, but it took many years to get to that point. And there are some troubling issues with private rescues. I looked with a friend. She was looking for a rescue, and I mean, the form that she had to fill out, I don't think they would want more information if you were trying to adopt a child.
Yeah.
And you have to have this, and you have to have that, and it and you can see where a lot of dogs probably don't find homes because
People
the
are turned
person-
off by it. Yeah.
they're turned off by it, and that some of the requirements are just, your fence has to be 6 feet. It
yeah.
has to be concrete in the ground, and I think that's a little excessive.
Personally. And I agree. And I think the hard thing with that is, and I find this more and more, which is it's so troubling, is that, and I think we've talked about, the three of us has talked about this before on other subjects. It's that we just sort of take for granted that people think like animal people. And there's a lot of people out there that aren't animal people. And saying you have to have a 6-foot fence, trying to set some sort of guidelines when people come in, and not even that they're idiots, they're just ignorant. They don't know, they're first time dog people or whatever. I think, that's always that hard balance. I mean, I have looked at some stuff in the past and I've been like, oh my gosh, like the 6-foot fence, or the dog can never be off a leash, or, all these things.
Right.
And you're like, holy crap. And someone once explained to me, it isn't for you. It's for the person over there that has no clue. They want a dog, but they don't understand.
But if you're signing an agreement, some of these rescues, they do an inspection. I know our mutual friend Beth, who got a poodle.
Yeah.
They made an inspection of her house. So some of these rescues, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing.
Yeah, it's
just
kind of it's a
what
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
Both times we adopted greyhounds, they did an inspection. Now,
Did they?
It was a very friendly inspection, but oh yes, they
Yeah.
both came out and they did a little interview, and yeah,
And it's hard because I understand what you're saying too, Tigger. But what my point is that we know Beth. We know that my God, I'd give one of my kids to Beth. You know what I mean? So it's sort of hard. But there are, and the only reason I say that is just to really to be the devil's advocate. But you know, when I was in Alta Vista, I did a lot of fostering, and you know, there was the Campbell County. And it was a kill pen. I mean, this was a place where in the middle of the night, you opened a door and you could shove in whatever animal you had. And it could be cats, dogs. Often they would go in that room in the mornings and there would be dead animals because they would put the wrong animal. And it was just horrible. So when I would go in there, they would let me take these dogs and foster them. And I would, you know, kind of get them back to the house, and I would, you know, I'd keep them about a month to get them in good shape, and then I would start, you know, trying to get them adopted out. Well, I started doing home visits, and the people were like, "Look, lady, we just don't want to put these dogs to sleep. Let them go wherever they want to go." I'm like, "No, I took all this time," and it was interesting to me. I mean, I didn't do it that long because it was too heartbreaking for me to do it, but it was so hard for me because there were a couple places where I'm like, you truly, even though you sounded great on the phone and you answered all these great questions, you're not ready for a dog. You know, and I went to the place, their house, and I'd be like, you're not ready for a dog. You are not ready for a dog. And so I turned a couple people down. And then, you know, it's really, I think a lot of these dog organizations can get so overkill. And I think so probably what your point is, Tigger, it can be so intense. It can be so intense, and I don't know where you draw the line. You know, I don't know.
And
where you
you know, I think when it comes to finding a suitable breeder, for me, it is being able to go to their kennel, and that things are, you know, spick and span, and the dogs are happy, and they're not trying to sell you a dog.
Yep.
They want to see which puppy or adult connects with you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so more interested in their breed than making a buck.
Yeah.
And I have been, you know, to some breeders, not of Aussies, but of other breeds, that they were just interested in, and they're not, I wouldn't even consider them puppy mills, but they were just going to crank out, you know, litters of a very popular dog and sell them. And they were very nice people, and their house was my mother was looking for a Bichon, and this woman was breeding Bichons, and she had 3 females that had all just given birth.
Ooh, that's a lot of puppies. Wow.
Well, no, actually, because they only have like 2 each. But it just started creeping me out that there were no AKC papers. No, there were AKC papers, but no Bichon breed papers. And the house was spotless, very clean. But and she was really pushing my mother for, you know, you've got to pick one. I mean, these puppies were a week old. And if you don't pick one, you know, I thought, Mom.
From the point of view of purchasing from a breeder and trying to find a breeder that is likely to have something that would suit your needs and a reputable breeder, is it appropriate to ask a breeder if you can speak with some other people who have gotten some of their puppies?
Yes.
Because I think that would probably make me feel more comfortable being able to talk to them and how the process went. Once your puppy became an adult, did things turn out the way you thought? In other words, when you got this puppy, is this puppy as an adult what you expected to get, or were there surprises? And just to talk to things like that, just to kind of, I think that would be something if I was to go that route that I would want to do.
If you're asking the breeder for references of people that they've sold puppies to or dogs to, they're probably not going to give you the names of the people who weren't happy.
But
That's a good
Also,
point.
if they balk at the idea of doing that,
Yes.
that's going to be a red
I
flag because they
Right.
don't even bother to keep track,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You know, if they don't, it's like, well, gee, so and so bought one from me 4 years ago. If they don't even have that information, that to me
Yeah.
would send up a red flag because they're not taking the time to follow up on those puppies and keep track of where they went and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like someone who breeds horses commercially, where they have 25 foals a year. They take them to the annual yearling sale.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to keep really close track versus
No.
someone who breeds 1 or 2 mares and ends up with 1 foal every year or 2 foals every year. More likely is going to be keeping track just because of the sheer numbers of it. But that's just something that occurred to me whenever, if I was to go find a breeder, it was like, I'd love to talk to somebody else who got a puppy from this female just to get an idea. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think actually message boards
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
are really good sources.
idea.
I'm looking for a golden, and people who have
Yeah.
golden, especially on horse bulletin boards,
Yeah.
they'll jump in and say, well, I got it from this breeder and I really like her, or we got
Just
a
word
puppy
of
from
mouth.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, I mean, in some ways the internet isn't so great, but in terms of finding out, reputable breeders and even rescues, that going to the horse community at large via message boards can be a great way to get really good information on, who are good breeders and who are good rescues.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like you said, word of mouth. And I think, one of the things that I have, and I'm not really sure how I got involved in this, but, through Facebook, all these different groups that are placing, animals that are, on
Facebook, I don't trust as much.
well, the only reason, and the people that like I said, I have no idea how this happened, but I got kind of somehow in this group, and the group that I've gotten involved with, and they share about these county places. That has been really a good thing, because you're still dealing with you're going directly to the shelter or whatever.
I found that because I belong to lots and lots of groups here locally in Florida, closed groups have a tendency to have more useful information for me versus
On
public
Facebook.
groups versus public groups. Generally speaking, if it's a public group, I use that purely for the social aspect of it. I don't want to find anything factual or reputable there. It's fun and games. Versus the groups that I belong to that are private, that you have to ask to be there, and then they have an administrator that polices them. It's been my experience that I tend to get more useful information there. So if you're going to use that route, that's just my point of view. So there you go. So people, if you're getting a puppy or a dog, let us know about it. Put it up on the Facebook page.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And
that'd be interesting.
maybe Patty might put a picture of her puppy on the Facebook page. Maybe.
Before it's 10 years old.
Oh, that was hurtful. Hurtful. Because, once I start, I'm not going to stop. Now that you said that, I'm going to post more pictures I'm sending you both more pictures.
All right. It's time to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, Biostar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
Forgive your fox.
While hedging with your hog.
We also recommend that you rack with your raccoon.
Gyrate with your giraffe.
Meditate with a meerkat.
Uber with your orangutan.
Facebook with your flamingo.
Ponder with your panda.
Walk with your Wookiee.
Yawn with your yak.
Twitter with your toucan.
Go raining with your reindeer.
Dropbox your dragon.
And Snapchat with your salamander.